basis. Welcome, sir. Very happy to have you here. And I've known Stephen for so long as such a champion of housing microfinance and really just the practical approach of providing the finance that people actually need. So would you like to introduce the rest of your panel?
Okay, thank you, Kesha. And thank you, Kesha, for those remarks. I think I'll go straight to my team, Bentamins from IFC, Julius Odero from Cusco Cooperative, and Tufani from Belgium. Please, welcome to the stage. So as they are coming to the stage, I want to set the climate that I've had the privilege of being among the pioneers of starting the whole conversation of housing microfinance on this continent for the last 18 years. So I've seen it from those baby steps. And this is where we want to have this conversation, that a child that was born 18 years, why is he still a child crawling? Those are the key fundamental questions. Welcome, Victor. So, just a quick introduction. Myself, I'm Stephen Wanjala. I'm the Executive Director for Housing and Development Finance Consultants. It's a consulting firm working with financial institutions to develop housing microfinance products. I've worked across 26 African countries, so I have the heartbeat of the continent. So we'll be sharing those conversations with my able team here. So I'll give them a quick introduction to self-introduction, starting with Victor.
My name is Victor Mintz. I am a housing finance specialist with the National Finance Corporation. Do we just introduce ourselves, or do we speak about what we do in housing microfinance here? Okay, and so talking about what we do in housing microfinance here, I even prepared a brief presentation. I don't know. Okay. So basically, Kesha just said, and Habib was saying today more or less the same thing, that you have a lot of housing microfinance in Africa, de facto. So practically, most of Africans are building their houses step by step, and many of them are borrowing. So the money they are borrowing for a short period of time to build some element of this house is housing microfinance. And Habib was saying, why wouldn't you call it a specific housing microfinance product? And the answer is the fact that we need to distinguish it from what we are doing it right now. And we in IFC believe that housing microfinance should not be just housing microfinance just in name. It should be something that distinguishes it from other loans. And the normal answer to that is that this should be construction technical assistance. What we're doing right now is that after plenty of experiment construction technical assistance, we came to idea of construction technical assistance which is pre-developed based on software tools. So the instrument that we're bringing right now to Africa is something that brings extra value to clients. Value, so if they are coming to housing microfinance loans, ultimate clients, they need to receive the value that they can't receive from institutions that are giving consumer loans that they are using for housing purposes. So what is the set of values we are bringing to that? Our clients are able to suggest to customers set of pre-developed designs. So you can see there is big set of pre-developed designs here. And I think I need your interruption. Almost done. So they can select the project based on number of bedrooms, number of rooms, form of building. They can look at what they selected, they can look from different types, forms, etc. And after they selected what they want, they can adjust the house to their needs. So for example, in this case, they're making it bigger, they're making bigger lounge and smaller bedroom. They, I don't know, moving in this case window, moving walls, adding additional partitions. So it is all very, very easy and intuitive. So typically it is done by loan officers who we train, one-day training. And after you develop the plan to your design, you can change outlook of the building. So for example, you don't want gable, you want a hip. So you are going to the next stage, change form of the roof, so it becomes hip roof, and you have a look at how it looks like. So Tanzanians typically love to have very high roofs, in my experience at least, for some reason. So you can easily make the roof higher. You can change the slope of the roof, so you want it to be more steep, or so you play with it the way you want. It is all prepared, it is all easy manageable. You get what you want, then you get what you want, you get to the stage where you can prepare bill of quantities. What's important here, on the right hand corner, you see the price of each level. So if you build incrementally, you can get, so for example, at this stage it will cost that amount of money and I can't afford it. And bank will not finance it, so I'm getting to another stage. Then you get to the next stage, you can adjust it to prices of each element of construction materials. And then as a result, you get the key value, you get prepared bill of quantities, and you get prepared drawings, which are prepared according to your design, according to what you want. So this is the package that we believe is the key element. So the value that you bring to your ultimate client, saying this is not just housing microfinance loan. It is housing microfinance loan because you don't only get money, but you also get this set of benefits. Additional set of benefits, we are developing detailed video instructions under which we help our clients to build houses properly, with the proper quality, with the right construction materials, with the right technology, with all the details that are needed here, extremely detailed videos, which you can use either to build yourself or to control how, here they call mafundi, are doing their work, because typically they are uneducated people. They don't know how to build correctly, and often they know what they don't want because they want to build as fast as possible. So our goal is to ensure that you know how to build your house the way it lasts and be reliable and important. And another important element we are doing, I decided to mention it because it's a specific thing, but since we're in Zanzibar, we are making this product Islamic finance product. So we can design this product the way that you don't charge interest on the loan itself, but you charge for these benefits that you provide to your clients. So we in IFC, once again, we always have been strong believers in importance of extra value that should be provided to the clients under housing microfinance. We did it in various ways. We partnered with Blue Chain, for example, in Haiti, doing it together. Now we are in the way on using these pre-developed elements. That's basically what we're doing.
Very impressive. Just as a side note, this is the next session. So, hi everyone, I'm Noel Tufani. I'm VP Programs for Africa and the Middle East for Build Change. And I'm going to talk to you about something that we don't do yet in Africa. And that is working with microfinance institutions to help people make their houses more resilient. We work with 6 microfinance institutions in the Philippines and with 1 microfinance institution in Indonesia. And so it all comes from the realization that access to finance is very complicated, especially for people who are informal. It's expensive, and people are considered unbankable. In situations where you do not have access to subsidy, ultimately one has to try to rely on people's ability to borrow. We looked at how could this be applied to slum upgrading, to how could this be applied to improving the resilience of also peri-urban settlements. And very quickly we realized that people couldn't afford to borrow enough to really make their houses more resilient. When I say resilience, I speak of resilience to earthquakes, resilience to cyclonic natural disasters, and more adapted to climate change. And so we had a conundrum. We knew what to propose on a case-by-case basis, but people just couldn't afford it. So what we did is we decided to break down the intervention into subsections. And so to enable people to, through a microfinance institution, access a way to incrementally improve their houses that they already had. Now, the advantage of this is that the product is specifically focusing on the technical intervention, meaning that one doesn't ask whether the house is formal to begin with, whether someone actually has land tenure or not. It's really a question of what does the house need? At first, we would be using our own staff or partner staff to go about and evaluate houses. But this costs money. You need to put people on the ground, and then they need to physically go house to house and collect information. By working with microfinance institutions, we realized that that information could be collected by loan officers. And so we developed a software that permits the loan officer to make an evaluation of the house and identify its vulnerabilities. And in doing so, the software would immediately propose interventions that correspond to the vulnerability criteria, the vulnerability spectrum of that house, but also that given the mensurations of the house, it would propose a bill of quantities that really corresponds to that house. And therefore what you have is a costed intervention that's right there. And so this enables a loan officer that already has information on their client to say, okay, this person could probably afford a $1,000 loan. What kind of smaller than $1,000 intervention can I propose to this family? And in so doing, interventions such as replacing roofs in the Philippines, that's the sort of thing that works very well. But you can have a series of interventions that the loan officer ends up proposing, and that proposition is done because the engineering and the evaluation is front-loaded into the software. So you really enable the loan officer to become a surrogate engineer or architect in a way that is extremely cost-effective and enables the homeowner to get that information very quickly. What you also provide as part of the package is the ability to follow up and to determine whether the homeowner intervened in accordance to what was proposed. So you can have a monitoring checklist. That monitoring checklist can help the microfinance institution determine whether all the funding actually went into the building or whether some of the money didn't, which is information important to be able to track. So at this stage, we would like to see whether this is applicable to Africa. At our own scale, we see that it can work in places that are exposed to natural disasters, in places where people are really wondering whether their roof will still be there after the next cyclone. And so this is the sort of product that in some parts of Africa, we can find the same type of demand that we find today in Indonesia or in the Philippines. And so really it's a question to everyone. To what extent is this applicable to the African context? To what extent is the cost structure here such that people would not be able to afford a large intervention at all, which is a concern. So we've been able to have interventions ranging for as little as $600 to as big as a few $1,000s. And with that, you can actually do a meaningful intervention on the house. The question is, how would this apply to the African context? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Julius Odera is my name. I'm the CEO of Cusco Housing Cooperative. Cusco Housing Cooperative is a primary cooperative in Kenya that purely deals in real estate. And we offer what we call end-to-end integrated property solution. And in that, we work with our members from identification, acquisition, and development in real estate, basically housing. So from that, you will realize that we are a big player in the housing sector. And I think just like Stephen has indicated, the discussion around housing has been for quite too long, or affordable housing. But if you look at the impact, could be very minimal. From where I sit and how we have basically looked at the product that we push to our market, I feel that you cannot discuss about housing without talking about inclusion. And I say, if it is not inclusive, then it is not sustainable. I've heard people talk about sustainability, but I believe that if it is not inclusive, then it is not sustainable. What are we talking about when we talk about inclusivity? When I look at the audience, the ladies are properly represented. And housing for quite too long has been a men affair. But I can see ladies are properly represented. But what about the youths? Are youth involved in discussions around housing? And at what point do we involve these youth? So we have a product that we have tailor-made, basically to handle the inclusivity from below 18. So we have we call it junior savers in Cusco Housing, where we speak to our children about housing from the age of 11. So it means the culture of saving and the culture, because I believe housing is a long-term investment. So we inculcate the culture of saving in our young ones from when they are 11 years to when they graduate to a level where they can now invest in real estate. So that we do using a product that we have. The other product that we've done in Cusco Housing is called incremental house construction. So in this we say that you can start from what you need and gradually grow it to what you want. What we mean is that even the low-income earners still have a dream. They do not want a one-bedroom house, but they may need the one-bedroom house today, but gradually grow it to a four-bedroom house. So we give them such opportunities to gradually grow their housing into what they may want in future. I think I'll stop there for now. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Betty. I just want to highlight a few issues because I've been around for a long time. I can text talk and diagnose various programs 18 years down the line and draw up a few issues that I'll be wanting my panelists to talk about. One of the issues is around, that has already been talked about, is market segmentation. And this is where we get it every day wrong. We think we have a magic bullet that fixes our housing problem in our country. And that is where we get the false start. When we ask institutions what are the numbers, they are very shy to say the numbers because they're not nice numbers to talk about. So it's the issue of who are the targets and why are we thinking about incremental housing? We find in Africa over 70 or 80% people build incremental. It's a fact. It cannot be disputed. But why are we not acknowledging that reality and designing products to align with that? Because there's a reason. They're not just building incremental because they wish, but because of the issue of affordability. From the studies I've done across most African countries, we have, when you ask customers, the three priorities, housing comes number 3 or number 4 on their priority list. The first is education, food, health, then housing comes number 4. But when you are a housing institution, you think housing is our number 1 priority. False start. So those are the things that we are failing from the word go. Because we are not understanding who the target client is, and that's why we are designing wrong products. Then the other issue is livelihoods. Housing has to be anchored on livelihoods. How are people going to pay you? So we forget about what are people doing, what are we doing to support that, to be able to make an investment on the housing that you're going to give. Those becomes very fundamental issues that if you don't get them right, you're just talking to yourself. Then the other issue is capacity. I've said this sector has been around 18 years. Why don't we have a model? And I think this is where financiers have a problem. What is the model of incremental housing? You ask every institution, they'll tell you every manners of things. You cannot get funding unless your model is crystal clear. Because it's from that model that we can understand what are the risks and what are the mitigants that need to be put in place. So I'll be asking the team to talk about what is the model that housing microfinance should be having so that the investors also understand that model to throw in money. That is one of the issues. Then the other issue, there are 3 products that for the few years I've been working on the continent, as I work within a financial institution, I talk about 3 products. One of the products is a retail product. The other product is the wholesale product. For the banks that I work with, I get them to design as they go down market, because that's not their space. They'll take some time to learn that space. So they leverage on microfinance institutions and cooperatives to get to that market. So they work with the wholesale product to give it to microfinance institutions to reach that market. Then the other product is the SME for the housing value chain actors. We are telling institutions we must now be playing at the rig of aggregation and bringing down costs. So that is another level. We're going to now to the PhD level. Now aggregation and developing products for the SME for the housing value chain actors. Then the other aspect is the indicators. Housing microfinance is having a challenge because we are not collecting the right data. It has been talked about here. That's why the sector now, 18 years down the line, is neither here or there. For the 2 institutions across Africa that are doing well, I think in Kenya and Uganda, they're doing around 7,000 to 10,000 loans, an average of over $1,000. It tells you this volume and this business. But it's just not been documented, as Kesha from the study that they commented recently. And the other aspect is pricing. We're asking ourselves, why is this sector not getting funding? One of the key things is pricing. What is the best price for housing finance? Is still a big question. So on that, I'll just want my team just to react on those aspects that we say we don't want to talk about challenges. We know them. We have reiterated for many years. But those are the issues I'm throwing out there, we have a debate about, because those are the challenges that are making housing microfinance or incremental housing not fly. Everybody can react to those issues that are limiting the sector. Because I've been around, I've seen it all. And those are the issues that institutions are struggling with.
I think I will start with the market segmentation and what we are doing in that space. We have basically segmented our market in areas cooperatives to ensure that even the products that we are pushing are target driven and they speak to our members. So the first thing that we've done is we've embraced technology, and the technology that we are doing is that as we onboard our members, we are able to classify those members depending on their need, their budget, these are the number of units they want, the budget in terms of the cost of the units they may want is this. So that we do as Cusco Housing, and we believe that this is going to be a game changer for us because we are able to speak to our investors and speak to the need of our members. Still in the segmentation, we have looked at the informal sector. In the informal sector, we are looking at the market traders. What is it? When we design these products to the market traders, we design products, but we don't just leave it at design level. We also talk to that particular market on the personal finance management, because I believe that is something that has been lacking, especially in housing. For you to invest in housing, you must have saved, or you must have some saving. So if we don't speak to them about personal finance management, then we feel we get it wrong. So we have tailor-made products where even the market traders or the informal sectors are able to save on daily basis, as little as below $1 towards their dream homes. So we have the traders, we have the boda, we have all cadres, the Uber. So that we do.
I've been told we have 10 minutes, so I wanted my team to react. Then I want to open to the plenary. If you have questions, tomorrow we'll be having a panel where we can dive into some of those issues. We have around 5. So my team will be open just some 2 or 3 questions, then we wrap up our session.
Yeah, I just want to comment the fact that there's an inherent risk associated with working with microfinance institutions. And that is that if you just let them go about their business, they will naturally tend to move away from the most vulnerable because it's just difficult for them to service. And so when we look at our mission as an organization, we recognize that it's a practical partner to have because, as I said, you can rely on their cost structure and the fact that an MFI will put its loan officers to service pushing a particular product. But at the same time, if the product blend is not really tailored to a particular stratum, then that stratum will just be ignored. And I've seen situations where we were looking at loans that were it was for housing resilience specifically, but then people that were more bankable than the houses were people who were owners of private schools. And so they would come and they would say, well, I can borrow because I can do a second story on my building. And of course, next year I'll have twice as many pupils and I can repay you. And that just crowds the market compared to an actual family that would also like a second story. But it's just much, much harder for them to make a strong case to the MFI. So I think that's where we have to be very careful in terms of not treating the MFI as a one-size-fits-all solution for different strata in the market. And one has to start asking questions. How can the MFI product be supported by either a subsidy or another type of scheme that permits the inclusion of particular types of populations that are vulnerable to begin with, and because of that vulnerability are less likely to be the target population for that MFI. So for example, the MFI that we work with in Indonesia, they work specifically with women members. And in order to qualify for a home improvement loan, the family has to have been a member for at least 3 years. So what does that do? That creates criteria that open the door for people to actually maybe make less money than somebody else, but if they've been a good payer for 3 years and they've been a member of the cooperative, they're in a situation to be provided a loan that they would have not been provided that loan had they just been outside that cooperative. The level of trust it just isn't there. So sometimes you can create those mechanisms without a subsidy, but sometimes you need to include government in a discussion about what little amount of subsidy can actually just open the door to the insertion of particular populations. In some cases, we're talking about $50 subsidy, $100 subsidy at particular moments. But that sometimes is enough just to get someone interested in the product.
We don't have time, so probably questions.
Yeah, we can now have questions or clarification on. This was just a teaser. We'll be going deeper into the garden tomorrow to some of the issues that we should.
Thank you. I think just to pitch in there, I think what that says is that as we evolve it and develop it, and as you find your partner to work with, and as you find, Julius, that you start working with yours, we need really solid data collection mechanisms, and Victor as well. And in fact, I think Alan got so excited because when you're using a tool to help the buyer go and the lender go through, or the borrower and the lender go through the whole process of how much they need for what, you're collecting data. And so to think very, very carefully about how we then capture that doesn't compromise anyone's privacy, but really supports market development. So, Stephen, my very quiet alarm is ringing.
Just one minor point. Tomorrow we have a round table on the same topic. So if anybody is interested, if anybody wants to play with this tool that I demonstrated on my computer, you're welcome tomorrow at I don't know what time, but
Okay. Thank you so much. As you can see, we have a lot of work to be done. People are building. They're not waiting for us to think. They are doing their thing. So the more we catch up with them, it's upon us. Thank you.